Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful dress. It has an overlap when it comes to the lower bust, and then it's made of the mesh stitch. It's also multicolored, and on the shorter side you can make this dress whatever length that you want, as I'll explain in the video, but this is how everything looks like. I already have a written pattern on all my online shops, and you can grab a copy of the ad-free pattern on all my online shops. All the links will be linked in the description box below. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with a slip knot, and for a slip knot you're going to just twist over your yarn like this. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to close off your slip knot like this. So you're going to make a chain of 5, and then make 1 double crochet in the very first chain that you made. So for a double crochet, you yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that will create our very first V-stitch at the base. So you're going to make a chain of 4. This is row 2. Chain 4, turn your work, go into this space here of the V-stitch and place a double crochet, and then chain 1 and place 1 more double crochet into the same space. So that way we have created 2 spaces. Row 3, you're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, go into the very first space with 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next space, chain 1, and 1 double crochet into the same exact space. So what you should note about this pattern is we create a V-stitch in the very last space and a V-stitch in the very first space. So let's go on to row 4. You're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, go into the very first space, which is this one, with a double crochet, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with a double crochet, chain 1, and into the very last space you're going to place 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet. So row 1 has 1 space, row 2 has 2 spaces, row 3 has 3 spaces, row 4 has 4 spaces. So that number of spaces is going to keep increasing. So row 5, you're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, go into the very first chain 1 space of the row and place a double crochet, and then chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with a double crochet, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with a double crochet, until you get to the very last space where you'll chain 1 and place 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the very last space. So this is what you'll have, and you'll notice at row 5 you should be having a total of 5 spaces. So we're going to keep repeating this row of increase until a specific point. So I'll let you know how many rows that I'll have done for my size, and I'll also recommend the number of rows to do for the different sizes depending on what size that you're making for. So we are continuing to do the rows of increase again and again, and you should be seeing a triangular shape just like we have for our very first panel, as you can see here. So keep working all the way until... All right, so I did a total of 23 rows for a size medium. For size small, you're going to do a total of 21 rows. Extra small, 21 rows. Medium, 23. We are going to do in increases of 2 rows. So large, you're going to do 25. Extra large, 27. Like that. Just keep working according to the size that you're making for, and this is what you'll have. So you're going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process for the second panel. So after the first panel, you will chain 1 and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail to attach the 2 panels together. But after your second panel, you're not going to cut your yarn. Leave it attached to the yarn ball. So after this, you're going to align your work like this, with this tail in the middle, and you're going to get our darning needle and join a few chain 1 spaces. So we're going to join a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 boxes together. 7 boxes. So you can choose to either join it with a darning needle or with a crochet hook. So for me, I'll use a darning needle. So I'm going to count 7 spaces on this panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And into that double crochet after the 7th space, I'm going to attach this panel and put it down, and then into the chain 1 space, and then into the next stitch, into the chain 1 space, into the next double crochet, chain 1 space. So we are just aligning the stitches together so that the 2 panels can meet in the center. So we are currently joining the very last chain 1 space, and then into the last double crochet and into the chain 3. And this is what you'll have. You're going to have something that looks like this. So from here, you can join the very last stitch 2 times, and then you're going to remove your darning needle. Now we're going to start creating the coverage that goes all the way to the back of the dress, and we are going to start aiming for the waist measurement. So from here, you're going to get the loop that's still attached to the yarn ball from the second panel, and we're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, and this time we're going to work all the way across the 2 panels. So what we are going to do is make 1 double crochet into the very first space, but this time it's not the only one that we are making. We are going to make a chain of 1 and 1 more double crochet into the same exact space. So literally we have 2 spaces into 1 space here, and then from here you're going to make a chain of 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that all the way across until the middle section. So the only change is we've increased 2 times on the edge. So continue to create the mesh pattern. All right, so when we get to the center here, we are still going to create the mesh pattern. So you go into each chain 1 space with a double crochet, but this time we are working into both panels. So chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space. and we're just going to go all the way across. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to cross over to this side, to the next panel. So create the mesh pattern until you have only one space left. When you get to this point where you have only one space left, you're going to make a chain of one double crochet into the last space, chain one double crochet into the same space, chain one, and one more double crochet into the same space. So just like we have at the beginning, we have a total of 2 spaces into the very last space. So we're going to repeat this row again and again. Just to remind you, you're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, 1 double crochet, chain one double crochet into the same exact space, so that you have 2 spaces into 1 space. Then you're going to go ahead and work your mesh pattern as usual all the way across until you have 1 space left, and make sure you make 2 spaces into the very last space, just like we did for the previous row. So repeat that row, and I'll meet you back when I have my waist measurement across the base of the dress all the way across. Make sure you have your waist measurement here. All right guys, so we continued to expand. You can see the drastic change or the drastic increase of the mesh pattern to the side. I did a total of 10 rows of the mesh pattern after joining the 2 panels together. So from here, once you hit your waist measurement, you're going to, after your last double crochet here, you're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 4 of the round, just like this. Just make a slip stitch, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. All right, you're going to cut your yarn, and now we are done with our top color, which is the green. Now we're going on to our next color, which should be mustard yellow. So you're going to choose your colors as you wish, and you're going to do as many rows of each color as you wish. So for me, the pattern will be 2 2 2 4, 2 2 2 4, 2 rows of yellow, 2 rows of the next color, 2 rows of the next color, and then 4 rows of the next. So if you want, you can follow my pattern, or you can do a random placement of different colors at whatever point that you desire. So I'm going to attach my next color, but before we do that, you're going to get 2 stitch markers. Just get 2 stitch markers. Let me get light colored ones like this, and then you're going to place your work so that the exact middle of the back side is in the middle like this, and you're going to mark the side chain 1 spaces. So these will be the sides of the dress, here and here, and we're going to attach our yarn at the back of the dress. So turn your work onto the back side, and make sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So I'm going to attach my yarn in the very first chain 1 space on this side, just like this, and then I'm going to make a chain of 4, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space. So continue to do the mesh pattern until the space before the very first stitch marker. Because the places where we place the stitch markers are going to be the points where we create increases so that this dress can actually fit around our hip area. So now we are aiming for the hip coverage. All right, so we've placed our double crochet in the space before the stitch marker. Remove your stitch marker from the next space, and then you're going to place after the chain 1, you're going to go into that space that had the stitch marker with 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same space, and then you're going to place your stitch marker. If you can eyeball that exact point, you don't need the stitch marker, but I'll place it back into the V-stitch that we just placed in the chain 1 space here. So after this, you're going to chain 1, 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet. So do this all the way around until you get to your next stitch marker where we shall place our next increase. Alright guys, so we are placing a double crochet in the space before the stitch marker. Remove the stitch marker, chain 1. Into the space that had the stitch marker, you're going to place 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same exact space. Then chain 1, place back your stitch marker into the V-stitch or the chain 1 space of the V-stitch, and then continue with the mesh pattern. Chain 1, 1 double crochet. So repeat this all the way around until you get back to the beginning of the round. All right, now we've come to the end of our round. Chain 1, 1 double crochet into the very last chain 1 space, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 4 of the round. And this is what you'll have. This is what your work will look like. The points where we have the stitch markers are the points of increase. Don't forget that. So after your slip stitch, you're going to turn your work and slip stitch into the very first chain 1 space, and then make a chain of 4. Double crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space. So repeat that all the way across until you get to the next stitch marker. So we are done with placing a double crochet in the space before the stitch marker. Remove the stitch marker, and into the V-stitch you're going to make a chain of 1 and then a V-stitch into the V-stitch. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into that chain 1 space that had the stitch marker. Replace the stitch marker into the new round, just like that, and that's supposed to mark the point where you'll do the increase for the next round. Then chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space, and go all the way around until the next stitch marker. And when you get to the next stitch marker, make sure you do the same exact thing. You create an increase into the V-stitch that has the stitch marker by placing a V-stitch in there. So we've reached the stitch marker. Remove it, chain 1, and then V-stitch into the stitch that had the stitch marker, the space that had the stitch marker. Replace the stitch marker into the new round, and then make a chain of 1, 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space, just like that. So you should see your work is starting to spread outwards because we are creating increases on the sides of the dress. So continue to work your mesh pattern until the end of the round. Alright, so chain 1 and place 1 double crochet into the last chain 1 space of the round, and then chain 1 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the 1st chain 4 of the round. And since I said I will do a total of 2 rounds for the next color, which is mustard yellow, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. So the pattern for my dress is 2 2 2 4. So 2 rows of the next color. So you're going to grab your next color and make a slip knot, and you're going to attach it into the chain 1 space right after the slip knot on this side. So I'm doing 2 rounds of orange as well, so make a chain of 4 and double crochet into the next chain 1 space. And we're basically going to just do the same exact thing. The only thing that you should remember, you should always be working in the chain 1 spaces. We don't work on top of the stitches. Alright, so we are coming to the end of the very first round of orange. I did it all the way on camera because I wanted to remind you of how to do the second round. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the 3rd stitch of the 1st chain 4 of the round. And then you're going to turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. Slip stitch into the very first chain 1 space and then make a chain of 4. So that's how we begin the next round. Make a chain of 4 and double crochet into the next chain 1 space, and continue making the mesh pattern until you get to the next stitch marker. So that's all that we are going to do until the base of our dress measures half of our hip measurement across, because we are working with 2 panels. So once you get half of your hip measurement across, that means this piece will be enough to go around the hip measurement. So I'm going to do mine until I get to 40 inches, which is half of the hip measurement that I intend to make this dress for, and then I'll meet you back. So what I mean by this is you're going to measure across. You're going to continue with the increases until this piece can go up to half your hip measurement. As you can see, we are not yet there, so I'm still creating my increases at the points which have the stitch markers until I get half of the hip measurement that I intend to make for my dress. So if it gets to 20, that means times 2 will be 40, and this dress will be perfectly fine for any person who has a hip measurement of 40 inches. So keep working and I'll meet you back when I have that. Alright guys, so I went ahead and repeated the increase rounds until my work measured 20 inches without stretching it even, because the mesh pattern usually shrinks, so I don't want to stretch out my work. So I have 20 inches exactly, and at this point you're going to remove your stitch markers because we no longer need them. Once you hit half your hip measurement across, that means you've achieved your hip measurement circumference. And then you're going to get your next color. Mine is lilac, and you're going to attach into the chain 1 space after the slip stitch, making sure that we're working in the opposite direction of the previous round, and then make a chain of 4 and 1 double crochet into the next chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next. All right, so this time we are going to just go all the way around without any increases. We are just placing 1 double crochet in each chain 1 space, even at those points where we were increasing before. This time we are only going to place 1 double crochet in that space, not a V-stitch. Definitely. As you can see, we have reached the V stitch, and I'm only placing 1 double crochet there, and then chain 1, chain 1 double crochet into the next. This time we haven't increased anything, so go all the way around until the end, and you're going to continue working back and forth while switching colors. All right, so we have a total of 30 rows all together, and this is what everything looks like. 30 rows from the main color. So the main color did the upper part of the dress, and then we have 30 rows from the yellow, the very first yellow row all round, so all the way down. So 30 rows from the top part of the dress. Then once you get the length of the dress that you want, we're going to do the final color, and for me that's going to be the same exact color as the main color of the dress, which is green. So I'm going to get my green yarn and attach it just like we've been doing for all the other colors. So attach it in a way that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round, and then make a chain of 4 and double crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 space. So go all the way around. This round is just the same as the previous rounds, and then I'm going to show you how to wind up your dress. Okay, so we've come to the end of this mesh round, and I am winding up with a chain 1 and slip stitching into the 3rd chain of the first chain 4 of the round, just like we've been doing before. And then from here we're going to start creating a ribbing around the bottom edging of the dress. This is optional, but it will make your dress prettier. So if you want to end your dress at the mesh, then you can go ahead and just leave it at this. If you want to make it even longer, like a maxi dress, you can go ahead and also do that, but mine is going to be a shorter version. So to create the ribbing, you're going to make a chain of 6, and then you're going to go into the 2nd chain from the hook with 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet into the next chain, 1 single crochet into the next chain, 1 single crochet into the next chain, and 1 single crochet into the last chain towards the body of the dress. And then you're going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space and slip stitch into the next double crochet, just like that. Then you're going to turn your work. Then you're going to skip over the slip stitches, the 2 slip stitches, and go into the 5 single crochets of the ribbing of the dress, and you're going to place 1 single crochet back loop only in each and every single crochet. So don't forget, we are only going into the back loop so that we create a ribbing for the dress. So something like this, and then from here you're going to make a chain of 1 and single crochet back loop only in each of the 5 single crochets of the ribbing. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once you have your 5 single crochets back loop only, you're going to slip stitch into the next chain 1 space and slip stitch into the next double crochet, just like this, and then turn your work. And you're going to repeat that all the way around until this ribbing is wrapping around the entire dress, just like that. Turn your work, and then single crochet back loop only. So go all the way around, and the ribbing is going to create that ending to the mesh pattern of the dress, and also create a boundary at the base of the dress. So just like this is what you're going to have at the end of the dress. So you're going to go all the way around the dress. Alright guys, when you make it all the way around the base of the dress, this is what you'll have. This is the ribbing you'll have at the base of your dress. And when you're done with the very final row, you're going to just chain one and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail to attach these two spaces together. This panel and this panel, so that we create a round for the ribbing. So just thread the tail that you left behind and join the stitches together from one end to the other, stitch to stitch. Okay, just like that. Now we've joined the ribbing into a round, and the side that has these tails is supposed to be the wrong side of the work. Now I'm going to get rid of all these loose ends by tying knots, or you can use your darning needle to get rid of the loose ends. All right, after tying knots at every point, I'm going to just cut off all the loose ends. Okay guys, from here, this is exactly what your work will look like. When you turn it to the right side, you're going to have something that looks like this. Very neat, especially at the back where we have the loose ends on the inside of the dress. The outside of the dress will look this neat. This is the same line where we have tied the strands and we can't see anything peeping through. And now we're going to go onto the top of the dress, and we're going to attach straps on the top of the dress. So on top of the two bra cups. Alright, so I'm going to get the same exact color as the one at the top of the dress, and that's green for me. And I am going to attach a chain of about 100 chains on the top corner of the dress. The very first top corner of the dress, I'm going to attach my yarn and single crochet into the same space. And I'm going to make a normal chain of 100. So when you have your 100 chains, you're going to cut your yarn, pull through, cut off the excess yarn from the chain, and then you're going to also get rid of these loose strands. Just like that. And now we have our strap attached onto our dress. So we're going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side, which is here. Alright guys, this marks the end of this tutorial. I'm going to dress up my dummy and I show you the final look of the dress.